The Oversight Committee released a timeline. 14 years of the Biden crime family revealed to us in a beautiful chart that we will go through in detail, starting all the way back in 2009 and taking us into the present time. You can see that when we start here, we're going to go back to when the Obama and Biden administration began. January 20th, 2009. They're in charge. They're in office. Something happens in 2013. What do we have here? Hunter Biden, a business associate, and Chinese investors, they create this company. It's called BHR, Bohai Harvest. It's an investment fund controlled by the Bank of China, focusing on mergers and acquisitions. Soon as Joe Biden is in office, Hunter gets to work. BHR is created. We see that China has Joe Biden arrive. He goes over there with Hunter, and he meets with the CEO of BHR, called this guy, Jonathan Lee. That happens December 4th, 2013. Hunter hops on the plane. Shortly after the plane ride, BHR's business license was approved and Hunter Biden was a board member. Isn't that amazing? VP Biden brings his son over there. They put him on the board. Here's a picture. This one comes out of Kazakhstan. We've got Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and other businessmen meeting with Hunter Biden at a hotel in Washington, D.C. They're hanging out with one another. We go to Ukraine, April 2014. This is when Burisma comes into play. Burisma is a Ukrainian energy company now. Suddenly, they also appoint Biden, a Biden business associate, to their board of directors. We fast forward a week over in Kazakhstan. This company called Kenis wires $150,000 to his Latvian company to another Rosemont entity. Now, this is where we see Joe Biden travels over to Ukraine. And here is what he said.
You face very daunting problems and some might say humiliating threats that are taking place indirectly. But the opportunity to generate a united Ukraine, getting it right, is within your grasp. And we want to be your partner, your friend in the project. We want to, and we're ready to assist. We can help in stabilizing and strengthening Ukraine's economy by helping you withstand the unfair economic pressure being thrust upon you. We stand ready to do that, and I say the American people stand ready. And this is a delicate thing to say to a group of leaders in their House of Parliament, but you have to fight the cancer of corruption that is endemic
Not ours,
in your
though.
system right now.
Not Hunter and Biden corruption. So then we see there is another entity. The Rosemont entity then wires $142,000 to a car dealership. Now, who gets that car? Hunter Biden. $142,000 New Jersey sports car for Hunter. That's from Rosemont entity. For what? Nobody knows. Then we go to May. Joe Biden is still traveling around the world, grifting off of his position. He is arriving. You can see he posted this on his Twitter account when he could walk up the stairs of an aircraft before. Wheels up in D.C. Next stop, Romania. Wow, he can even carry a bag up back then. So that was in 2014. Now he goes to Romania. Joe Biden's traveling around. Then he speaks. When he visits in Romania, he gives a talk to the members of parliament.
Mr. President, we may be listening to a future president. I don't know. I want to thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. It's a pleasure having an opportunity to spend some time with you as well, and Speaker of the Chamber of Deputies and the President of the Senate and the Justice Minister.
All right, so he's over in Romania talking around over there. And then in September 2014, BHR, one of the companies we saw earlier, they drop a cool $1.7 billion into a CCP-linked petroleum and chemical company. About a quarter later, in December, China and BHR, they invest. Hunter and a business associate, they drop then about $500,000 into BHR. So BHR invests 1.7 into CCP. Hunter invests into BHR. Then we go forward a couple weeks to the end of December. Another Kazakhstani oil company and Burisma, they join with another CCP-linked company, and they create this transnational arrangement. So now we've got Kazakhstan, Kazakhstan, we've got Burisma and a CCP company, financial transaction agreement. 2015 in March, Ukraine. Hunter Biden organizes a campaign dinner at Cafe Milano in Washington, D.C., and he has his daddy stop by to meet with a high-level official called Vadim Pozharsky. Daddy swings by. September, BHR joins with the CCP-linked entity to acquire a U.S. automotive deal, $600 million for that deal. In Romania, Vice President Biden welcomes Romanian president to the White House. He states the vice president welcomed the president of Romania to focus on anti-corruption efforts and a rule of law as a means to strengthen international investment. He said that we're happy with what you're doing to fight corruption. Meanwhile, Hunter's getting paid. In Ukraine, Vadim Pozharsky suggests high-level U.S.-level officials come to Ukraine and talk with prosecutor Viktor Shokin and Poroshenko about Zlochevsky's investigations. Why don't you send some people over here? Prosecutor Shokin was investigating Burisma and Burisma's owners, Zlochevsky, for fraud, which he just acknowledged that basically existed in the FD 1023. Prosecutor Shokin is the Ukrainian government official that Vice President Biden demanded Poroshenko fire. We heard that clip. Back in Romania, there's another person, Gabriel Popoviciu, who begins making payments into another LLC. This is Robinson Walker LLC. We talk about all these different shell companies. This entity is owned by a Biden associate, Rob Walker. Popoviciu's company sent Rob Walker a wire for $180,000, and they paid that company $3 million. Biden family, they got $1 million from that LLC after the deposit. So Walker then dumped a portion of that back over to the Bidens. 16 of the 17 payments from Popoviciu's company to Robinson were made while Joe Biden was vice president. We're at November 2015. This is a high-level government official working with Obama and Biden. He meets with Hunter Biden and he discusses Burisma. So Hunter is actually doing some lobbying here. Okay, so he goes and he meets with this guy, Amos Hochstein, officially in the U.S. government. Rob Walker then, from Romania, he wires Hunter Biden $60,000 back in November 2015. Amos, the guy that Hunter met with, okay, so Hunter goes and meets with this guy. Then this guy meets with Vice President Biden for whatever reason. Amos Hochstein calls Hunter Biden back in Ukraine. Hunter then travels to Romania. He meets with the U.S. ambassador to Romania. And then Vice President Biden goes to Ukraine as well. And you can see this is from his trip. Announces a trip back over to Ukraine. Meanwhile, Pozharsky emails Hunter Biden confirmation. He says, is the vice president coming over here? Hunter says, yeah. Then we get to December. We have China now. Hunter Biden and the CEFC chairman, Ye Jingming, they start communicating. The Chinese want in on it. Robinson Walker sends Hunter another 60 grand in December, for whatever reason that was. Vice President Biden then arrives in Ukraine. Remember, we've been talking about this prosecutor being fired, and guess what? Here's Biden. Vice President Biden arrives in Ukraine, where demands to fire General Shokin are discussed. Here's what Biden said.
I was not but it just happened to be that was the assignment I got. I got all the good ones, so I got Ukraine, and I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion.
$1 billion.
They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money.
Wow.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Got fired.
Yeah, tough guy got fired because he was using American aid as leverage. Because that's exactly what Hunter Biden wanted, because he was getting paid $80,000. Apparently, Joe Biden, according to the FD 1023, got $5 million, cool, from Ukraine, Burisma, and Hunter got the other half. In a quid pro quo, he got it done, and he used $1 billion of American aid as leverage. December 9th, 2015, he then leaves Ukraine, gets a commitment from Poroshenko that Shokin will be fired. He was. Vice President Biden hosts a holiday party. Amos Hochstein and Hunter Biden both attend. Amos Amos was the guy Hunter met with to discuss Burisma. Hunter, in December, gets another $60,000 from Robinson Walker. Another 60 grand. How many times was that in a month? Wow, was that twice in a month? So he got about 120 grand in 1 month. Yeah, so one payment came in December, 60 grand, December 7th. Another payment came in December 23rd, about every 2 weeks. Another 60 grand on that. We get to 2016 now. Vice President Biden is meeting with Poroshenko in Switzerland at the World Economic Forum, where he reinforced the linkage between the loan guarantee and reforms. Zolchevsky, in February of 2016, he then gives Hunter Biden unspecified, very extravagant birthday gifts. Wonder what those were. Then in February, Vice President Biden and Poroshenko, they have a phone call. Don't know what they talked about. February 2016, Hunter now gets a little bit of a raise. Robinson Walker drops him a cool $61,000. Biden in Ukraine, February 16th, Poroshenko asks Shokin to resign. Biden calls Poroshenko, thank you for having your prosecutor resign. All after that leverage. Hunter's getting 60,000, 60,000, 60,000. Hunter's meeting with Amos. Hunter's meeting with Daddy. Prosecutor gets fired. We know Zolchevsky was working very hard to get business done elsewhere in America with an IPO and other places. And this was, in his mind, a victory. February 2016, Ukraine. President Poroshenko says he's received Shokin's letter of resignation. March comes about. Hunter gets actually, this one goes to Owasco. So now, let's see here. Yes, Owasco is Hunter Biden's. So Owasco is where the money's going now, into a different professional corporation account. So it's not going into Hunter's, checking account. It's in another shell company, just so we're clear on that. So Hunter then, he goes and he meets with the U.S. ambassador to Romania. March, Ukrainian parliament approves the firing of the prosecutor, General Shokin. And I'm not up to speed with Ukrainian politics or hierarchies, but it might be very similar to like if we fired Merrick Garland, right? The United States chief prosecutor, the attorney general of our country. Ukrainian parliament at their federal level approves. It's a big deal. Romania, Robinson Walker also then wires Owasco, which is Hunty-Poo, $123,000. Man, that's a lot of money. Another payment, $53,000. That one comes in May. July, Hunter gets $116,000. August, Hunter gets $20,000. Hunter in September, $32,000. $20,000 is another payment. October's $41,000, millions now, or hundreds of thousands coming up, but in total, we're going to see it's millions. November comes around 2016. BHR agrees to purchase a mining company, a minority stake in African cobalt mines, for $1.14 billion. BHR, remember, that's the Chinese company. Hunter gets another cool $122,000 from Robinson Walker. We turn to 2017 now. BHR invests $460 million in a Chinese facial recognition company. We have an important date now in this timeline. Guess what happens? Donald Trump takes control of the White House. Life is feeling much better. The Obama-Biden administration ends, but the nefariousness does not. All these deals have already been done. Unspecified Biden bank account. Don't know where that one went. 20 grand from Robinson Walker. For what? No idea. Another one, another unspecified Biden account. 20 grand there. February 10th, 2017. Hallie Biden gets 10 grand from Robinson Walker. In China, the chairman, Yi Jianming, gives Hunter a diamond worth $80,000 after having dinner together in Miami, Florida. Hunter, you're so dreamy. Will you be mine? In Romania, Robinson Walker also wires Biden 20 grand, 14 grand, February. Ye Jingming's company drops a cool $3 million back over to Robinson Walker. So it goes through Robinson before it goes over to the Bidens. It's owned by a Biden associate called Rob Walker. Robinson Walker then sends another Biden account $5,000 in March, another $25,000 in March, another $25,000 to Hallie Biden, $50,000 to Hunter, $100,000 to Hunter, $50,000 to Hunter in March. Look at all this money in March. Monster payments. I mean, like, what is this for? Robinson Walker wires Owasco another $100,000 at the end of the March. April, $50,000. $50,000 April 3rd. April 14th, $10,000. $300,000 in April 18th. $120,000 to this other company in China in April. Look at all this money. I'm going to sound like a broken record here. $25,000 here. $125,000 here. In May, Joe Biden attends a CEFC meeting. All this money's being transferred around. Biden family just got paid. Whoa. So now Joe Biden says, oh, what's that company again? Oh yeah, the CEFC. So he goes to their meeting in Los Angeles, and there's an email that comes out now. This email is between the Biden business associates about the ownership of this new deal, this CEFC deal. And this email mentions 10 held by H for the big guy, 10 held by H for the big guy. In May, China, Robinson Walker sends another Biden account 15 grand. Another account 15 grand. Owasco gets 61 grand. We're now in July. In July, in a message to a Chinese company, Hunter Biden says the following: please have the director call me, not James or Tony or Jim. Have him call me tonight. This is Hunter speaking. I am sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. I am very concerned that the chairman has either changed his mind and broken our deal without telling me, or that he is unaware of the promises and assurances that have been made have not been kept. Tell the director that I would like to resolve this now before it gets out of hand. And now means tonight. And Z, if I get a call or text from anyone involved in this other than you, Zhang, or the chairman, I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. All too often people mistake kindness for weakness. And all too often, I am standing over top of them saying, I warned you from this moment until whenever he reaches me. Okay, my friend, I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father. I sure hope whatever it is you're doing is very, very, very important. Man, he talks a tough game when his daddy's the vice president. We see here that China, on August 2nd, there was an arrangement now between CEFC and Biden family changes as Hunter Biden associates are removed. Hunter writes the following. This whole deal changes. Hunter writes, the chairman changed the deal after we met in Miami to a much more lasting and lucrative arrangement to create a holding company 50% owned by me and 50% owned by him. Consulting fees is one piece of our income stream, but the reason this proposal by the chairman was so much more interesting to me and my family is that we would also be partners in the equity and the profits of the JV's investments. He's a capital investor now, all of a sudden. All right, so August 2nd, the joint entity, now Hudson West, is formed. They form another shell company. 50% of the entity is owned by Gongwen Dong. 50% is owned by Hunter Biden. In another text message, Hunter tells the CEFC associate, Kevin Dong, he says, the Bidens are the best I know at doing exactly what the chairman wants for this partnership. Gongwen is a business associate of Yi Jianming, who executed transactions on his behalf. Big money starts pouring in. CEFC drops 100 grand to Hunter. CEFC then wires 5 million to Hudson West 3, the same company that they just created. The entity Hudson West 3 is partially owned 50% by Hunty. 5 million gets dropped in there. Hunter then requests keys be made at his office. He's like, man, I'm flush now. We just got 5 million. I got so much crack and hookers on my weekend planned right now. It's going to be nuts. But before we do that, we've got to get keys made for my daddy. He says, we're going to have an office. He says, Joe Biden, Jill Biden, Jim Biden, Gongwen Dong, Chairman Ye, all need to be on the signage at the Biden Foundation and Hudson West. Who's going to be on there? Joe Biden? What? All of that is supposed to be on the sign at the Biden Foundation. Now, this is Patrick Ho. He is an agent, a CEFC agent in America, arrested at the JFK airport on suspicion of bribery and money laundering on behalf of the CEFC, which is the same entity that Gal Luft is being prosecuted for being related to. And Hunter was here, had a shared office with these guys. February 2018 happens. Treasury FinCEN, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, issues a notice accusing a Latvian company of money laundering. Ye Jianming is detained by Chinese authorities for his economic crimes. Now, nobody knows where he is. He's gone. So the Chinese took care of their side of this criminal operation. That guy's gone. Hunter is like running the White House. They know how to deal with their criminals over there. That guy's gone with the wind. Hunter's like in charge. Here, it continues. So he gets arrested and now the Hudson West LLC and the CEFC begin to dissolve. The whole thing's a giant scam. The Chinese arrested their dude, or he's dead or gone. Hunter's like, whew, man, that was a close call. So he dissolves his LLC. He's like, we don't need that anymore. Patrick Ho is ultimately convicted for violating the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act in a multinational bribery scheme and various money laundering offenses. Patrick Ho is sentenced to 3 years after he's been found to have been bribing officials in Africa and pursuing oil deals for CEFC China, as well as laundering money through various international accounts. So everybody gets into hot water now. Joe Biden all of a sudden says, I better run for president so that I don't get indicted. Joe Biden responds to reporters in Iowa on this very important date, September 21st, 2019. He's running for president now all of a sudden. Hey, Mr. President, have you ever worked with your son Hunter on his foreign business deals? We've got questions about that. Here's what he said.
Following former Vice President Joe Biden on the campaign trail, Peter Ducey is joining us now from Des Moines, Iowa, live with the very latest. Hi, Peter.
Julie, if there was an abuse of power or a conflict of interest, Joe Biden insists it wasn't him and it wasn't his son. Have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
And so how do you know?
Let's talk about, here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum. And he's using the abuse of power and every element of the presidency to try to do something to smear me.
Joe Biden says no talk of business with his son. His son says some talk of business with Dad, the former VP. Hunter Biden cooperated with a New Yorker article in July which contains this passage about the energy company Burisma. As Hunter recalled, his father discussed Burisma with him just once. Dad said, I hope you know what you are doing. And I said, I do.
Did you? Not sure. In October, Hunter neither played a role in the formation nor the licensure of BHR. This is a spokesman for Hunter dropping this statement. They say, wait a minute, he's running for presidency. His daddy is. Hunter neither played a role in the formation or the licensure of BHR, nor owned any equity in it, while his father was vice president. Right, it was the other shell company underneath that, Hudson West 3. He served only as a member of its board of directors when he joined based on his interest in seeking a way to bring Chinese capital to international markets. It was an unpaid position. He was an intern. To date, Hunter has not received any compensation for being on their board. He's not received any return on investment. Did you just see all those different accounts, transactions in the tunes of hundreds of thousands of dollars that he got? We did. Moreover, Hunter played no role in directing or making BHR investments. He intends to resign from the board. That's it. The media's like, oh, great. Nothing to see here. FBI doesn't care. Nobody cares. He's running for president. Donald Trump is in the office, so it's all eyes on Trump. December 8th, 2019. This interview happens. Joe Biden is asked about Burisma. People are asking questions. Why is he getting paid $80,000 a month for not doing anything? Joe, do you know what your son was up to? Here's what he says.
There's one thing that a lot of Democrats even do wonder about, and that is Hunter Biden, your son, was getting paid a lot of money to serve on the board of a Ukrainian energy company facing serious corruption charges. You were the vice president running point on Ukraine. The average Joe hears that and says, that sounds fishy. What's your understanding of what your son was doing for an extraordinary amount of money?
I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
I know he was on the board. I found out he was on the board after he was on the board, and that was it. And there's nobody.
Well, you've had a lot of time. Isn't this something you want to get to the bottom of?
No, because I trust my son.
But that doesn't pass the smell test. Like,
No,
when
it
you're
doesn't.
vice president, isn't there a higher standard? Don't you need to know
No.
what's happening with your family? Don't you need to put down some guardrails?
Unless there was something that was, there was something on its face that was wrong.
You don't think that somebody handing your son $80,000 a year to sit on the board of some company and not do anything is strange to you when you're the vice president of the country? You don't think that's weird? Everybody thinks that's weird, right? Or it's a little bit too convenient. It's like that person who's a little bit too nice to you. You're like, no, just stop following me around, okay? I don't need help right now. Thank you. No, I'm looking at this. I'm good. Thanks for the help. So it's strange. But he doesn't need to look into it. He knows exactly what's going on. There's no confusion about it. He is getting paid for influence peddling. 2020 comes about. Trump is still in office. Election is well underway. Joe Biden is running. Ukrainian law enforcement announces a $6 million bribery scheme into Zolchevsky in order to end the probe into the Burisma founder. $6 million scheme, that's the end of it. June 30th is the FD 1023 form. which we read through in a prior segment. If you missed that, we covered the whole thing. Make sure you catch that video. But the FD 1023 form is created. We're in the middle of election season. It's Biden versus Trump, looking like he's going to win this thing. CHS comes out to the FBI. Hey, we've got some information about the corruption of this family. An FD 1023 form is memorialized. Source appears. We read through the whole thing. He said that there was a $5 million bribe from Burisma to Hunter, $5 million bribe to Biden in exchange for the firing of the prosecutor. We know that that happened later on in the date. Now, October comes about. There is a presidential debate that takes place. We talked about it here. Joe Biden says the following: I have not taken a penny from any foreign source anywhere ever in my life.
You were getting a lot of money from Russia. They were paying you a lot of money, and they probably still are. But now, with what came out today, it's even worse. All of the emails, the horrible emails of the kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family. And Joe, you were vice president when some of this was happening, and it should have never happened. And I think you owe an explanation to the American people. Why is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family, but what he said was damning. And regardless of me, I think you have to clean it up and talk to the American people. Maybe you can do it right now.
Vice President Biden, you may respond. 30 seconds. And then I do want to follow up on the election security.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in.
You saw it. I've never taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. And you go, well, maybe not directly to your bank account, but your son did. And you were doing the bidding of your son. It's very strange that the things that he wanted to get done, you did, and he was getting money hand over fist. And a lot of money. $80,000 per month. I misspoke. Not per year. Per month. He was making $1 million a year for doing nothing. 83,000 plus a month, like clockwork. And we saw the other bills coming in, all of the other remittances that ended up to the tunes of tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands, $150,000, $80,000 diamonds. The amount of money here is incredibly significant. Joe Biden, as a father who's the vice president, might want to have the prudence to say, that's a little bit off. I know my son is as dumb as a box of rocks. Everybody else, even in Ukraine, agrees with that. Why would this be happening? He says, my son has not made money in terms of the thing about, what are you talking about? China. The only guy who made money in China is Trump.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about? China. I have not had it. The only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
And the media just sat there like, well, he said it. He said he didn't make any money, so I guess that's it. Now, in March 2023, there's an important date. The Oversight and the Accountability Committee, they released their first bank records memo, and they find that there was over $1 million in payments from a Chinese company to the Bidens through an associate. $1 million. March 2023, when asked about his family's business dealings and whether Biden family members received money from his foreign son's business associates, Joe Biden responded, that's not true, which of course is a total lie, because we saw the financial records literally going to Hunter's bank accounts, Hallie's bank accounts, and other Biden family member bank accounts. So he continues the great lie, saying that it's simply not true.
Any reaction to House GOP's memo about your family dealings, sir? Any reaction to House GOP's new memo about your family dealings, sir?
Family dealings?
Yes, you're revealing that Hunter Biden's business associate sent over $1 million to 3 of your family members. Any reaction to that report?
Hunter Biden sent over $1 million to your family members. He says that's not true. And he looks there like he may not know on that one, but I'm not so sure about that. We see another important date. The Oversight releases its second bank records memo, revealing that the Bidens were also involved in peddling schemes in Romania and China. And of course, we know that on June 22nd, we also heard about whistleblower testimony that was released as well. And then in July, we had the very great testimony of the IRS whistleblowers who sealed it with their own evidence from their own involvement in this investigation. 14 years of the Biden crime family exposed in beautiful detail. And if you want to access this timeline or any of the links or any of the videos that you saw here today, go to robertgovea.com, sign up for the newsletter, access the mind map, and you can literally access this mind map, including clicking these links and accessing anything you see here. So we'll see if this continues to evolve. We know, I think we're just getting started. I think that this timeline will carry us into 2024 as more is exposed. Complex web, complicated business, but we're still marching on. And thank you, my friends, for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. We'll look forward to seeing you as we cover it onward.